is INDYCAR Radio.
Porchetta, Bourbon, Music City Grand Prix from Nashville Super Speedway. Mark Janes, Davey Hamilton, Michael Young, and Jake Query set to take you through the initial warm-up session. And Davey, it's hard to believe we're ready for the season finale.
Yeah. I almost hate it, to be honest with you. I mean, it is here, but it seems like the season's gone by too fast once again. But here we are in beautiful Nashville. What beautiful, not a cloud in the sky. This mile and a third tri-oval, all concrete. Very, very, it's a little bumpy out there, but that's okay. Safe for everybody. Seems like after Indy next, there's going to be an outside line here. Should be a good race overall for this weekend.
Colton Herta was the winner after a lengthy hiatus from this racetrack. Raced here from 2001 to 2008. Scott Dixon, a master here. He won 3 consecutive races. Dario Franchitti, TK, the late Gilles de Ferran, Alex Barron, Buddy Lazier, other winners here. This is a very challenging racetrack, 1.33 miles in length, Davey, and I guess it's the signature of it is the fact that it is concrete.
Yeah, it is concrete. I mean, I was one of the first ones to test here, actually, in 2001, and it was extremely bumpy, almost so bumpy you couldn't hardly get an IndyCar around here. They did a really good job back then, grinding the track down, making it smoother, not smooth, but smoother to where our cars would go around here. But then it made it really slick because where they grounded, it was slick finishes. So it's had its challenges, but right now I think this facility, as you said, took a little hiatus for a while. It's beautiful. I mean, everything is great about it. It looks brand new again. This track is best it's ever been. There is a big, it's still bumpy, but a really big bump off turn 4. That'd be nice to get fixed. But the good news with that bump off of turn 4 is you can visually see it. They've been trying to get rid of it. There's a grind mark vertically across the racetrack, so you could definitely see it when it's coming and kind of prepare for it.
About a 2,500 feet front straightaway with it. We're high atop at the start-finish line. Back straightaway about 2,200 feet in length. Plenty of banking here to help the momentum.
Yeah, nice banking here. And as you can see right now in the first line is the preferred line, and that's where the cars are right now, Mark. But as the weekend goes, there is going to be a high line practice, as we see on these ovals, to try to get some rubber in that outside line to really make it too wide racing. We just talked about Indy next. They were able to go up there fairly easily. I mean, we've seen a few guys later in the session maybe get up there a little marbly and had to be careful. But we've seen Colton Herta late in the race last year being able to pull that win off, but he was doing it on that outside, on that high side. So I foresee this being a good side-by-side oval race here.
Plenty of sunshine to get this 1-hour session underway. Last weekend at Milwaukee, downright fall-like. We're back to summertime conditions. For the specifics on that, let's head to the pits and welcome in Michael Young.
Well, good morning, Mark James. Good morning, race fans. Indeed, it's fall-like now, Mark, but it's going to be a typical hot summer day later on this afternoon. Currently 76 degrees. Track temperature is 88 as some of the drivers still sit on pit lane. Standing in front of Kyle Kirkwood's car. They did a quick installation lap before this practice session started. They're still sitting on pit lane. New livery this weekend, Sam's Club. So if you've got your phone out, they actually have a QR code, and if you could track them down fast enough, you could actually join Sam's Club by scanning that QR code. But he will be doing 190 plus miles an hour here at the Nashville Super Speedway. But a beautiful start to the day. Can't wait to get the festivities underway.
Good folks from Firestone supplying us with the following info. 6 sets per entry of primaries. Alternates, yes, alternates. The red sidewall tires, 4 sets per entry. Unrestricted use, of course, in practice and qualifying. No new or used requirements for either qualifying or the race. However, for the race, Davey, each entry must use 1 set of primary and 2 sets of alternates. An entry must complete 2 laps on each set of required tire type, or they could be assessed a 1-lap minimum penalty. And we should add that when they do that highline practice a little bit later on today, that's a totally different set and a set that is not similar to the compound that they're using.
That's right,
here.
Just a bonus set to go up there. And as you said, is they have to, it's mandatory to run 2 laps on each set of tires. We don't know what that alternate's going to do. Now, last year, I'm pretty sure it's the same tire. It is the same tires last year. Obviously, it worked out well. We kind of go back and look and see just exactly what that tire is able to do, and we're going to get, conditions change, so we'll get with these teams after this practice, find out how good the tires are and how fast they degrade.
Early on in the session and do that tire management in. There's about 5 cars that get to turn laps. Let's head back to Michael Young.
With Kara Kristalik, of course, the chief engineer for race tire development for Bridgestone Firestone. And Kara, we talk about tires each and every week, a unique one because we see alternate tires, but we're at an oval, so help make sense out of that for us.
So we actually started working with INDYCAR a couple years back to pilot an alternate tire program. And we actually had the same alternate tire, both primary and alternate tire here in Nashville last year. And it's made for some exciting racing. You see the alternate tires actually wearing out before the end of the stint, which makes some interesting pit strategies. So something similar to what we experienced last year in the Nashville races. So we'll see that excitement continue here.
Same manufacturing, same everything on this tire. It was some extremely fantastic racing last year. Was there a thought to potentially change anything, or was everyone happy with what we had last year?
We got some really good feedback, and really when we look at INDYCAR, we look at race quality. So is it a fun race to watch? Are there a lot of on-track passes? Are there really good contributing factors? And of course, we want to make sure our tires always are excellent. So we look at that, we look at feedback from the drivers and come to the conclusion that, no, this is a good tire that we're going to use. We're not going to change that. So, yeah.
Very successful, the implementation of it here at the Nashville Superspeedway. Why just Nashville Superspeedway?
So it was actually a decision from INDYCAR. INDYCAR wanted to have alternate tires here. We looked at the possibility, and we actually even tested for it, so look at a couple of different tracks. But then we go with what INDYCAR would like us to do, and I think it worked out so well in Nashville last year, added race excitement, more different strategies that you saw, so I think that's why it was so successful.
Any added stress? Obviously, you do this throughout the season on the road and street courses, but to do this and put together an alternate package for a superspeedway?
So it can be a little bit more. You can end up having a little bit more investment that goes into testing. Now we have different specs to manage. Instead of having 4 different tires on the car, it's more similar to what we have at road courses now, where we have 4 primary tires, 4 alternate tires. That's 2 different left side compounds and 2 different right side compounds. So it is a lot to manage, but our team flawlessly executes on this.
Long story, as we work through this race weekend, how do you foresee the wear on these tires? About the same as last year. Obviously, we've been through a winter, but it's obviously no concern with you guys at this point.
Yeah, this is a very seasoned racetrack, so just like some of us in the paddock, it's been around a little bit, so we know how the paddock or the series interacts with the tires. Cars are pretty similar to what we had last year. There's a little bit of downforce changes in the rules, so instead of having the underbody downforce, now it's on the wings, so there's going to be a little bit different performance, but not enough to really affect tire wear.
Say you are lightly seasoned. I am overly seasoned, so appreciate the time.
That's perfectly seasoned, Michael.
There you go. There's Kara Kristalik, of course, with Firestone.
Yeah, that's good stuff, Michael. Thank you, and thank you to Kara. Continue to say that they're the very best at what they do, and we appreciate the tremendous insight their entire team has provided us all throughout the course of this season, each and every season. What a fabulous partner they are. And Davey, I gotta feel that one of the coolest jobs in the world would have to belong to the guys and gals that come up with these compounds and start that process and seeing it come to fruition and then see how it impacts the racetrack.
Yeah, no, and we really appreciate that relationship with Firestone. As you just said, they give us the best tire possible, and it's been really great. And so, the softer compound tire, what that does, obviously, as we all know, it's a little bit faster. It's going to wear out a little bit quicker. But that creates the excitement on these oval racetracks to where, there's a lot of passing, a lot of strategy calls, or when to run them, when not to run them, who to pass, when to pass. It keeps it exciting.
Keep an eye on the time and speed report. Dixon Award, Rossi, Palou, Hurt of the top 5. Kirkwood, DeFrancesco, Erickson, Simpson, Rosenquist the top 10. Armstrong, Schwartzman, Ray Hall, Eilot, Rasmussen through 15th. Foster, Rob Daly, Ferrucci, VK Siegel, Abel, the McLaughlin through 23rd. Newgarden's turned a lap. Malukas just got out along with Christian Lundgaard and Will Power. 50 minutes remaining in this 1-hour session. Let's bring in the other member of our pit crew. Let's say hello to Jake Query.
Hello, Mark, and good morning to you here in Lebanon, Tennessee, just outside of Nashville. Taking a look here, you talked about tires and just the overall importance of that. And that was such a key component, of course, to the victory, the first for Christian Rasmussen at Milwaukee. Because think about late in that race when he came in, got that fresh set of tires, and then you and Nick Yeoman watched him really work his way through the field and eventually work his way around the leader, Alex Palou, in going on and getting that win. Watching Brent Harvey here in that Splenda number 21 machine for ECR, they actually waited at the beginning of the session, kind of let everybody else get a few laps in, looked over several different screens, several different areas of engineering telemetry before sending out Christian Rasmussen, and we will see how exactly that impacts things in terms of just the tire grip here on this track. As a matter of fact, I think they're going to bring Christian back in here, take a look over everything before sending him back out. Interesting in talking to Ed Carpenter over the course of the week after that win. Christian Rasmussen, let's talk about it. He obviously was involved in some controversy with Connor Daly, somebody who used to drive for Ed Carpenter in that race in Portland. And then, of course, Rasmussen getting the win. And Ed Carpenter told me throughout the course of the week, you know, so many people were talking about the aggressive driving style of Christian Rasmussen, not to say that that could not at times offer some risk, but he said, we did not say a word to him. We basically told him, keep driving the way that you're driving. We are here to win races, not necessarily to make friends. And it did pay off. And Rasmussen, I think, has had a very promising season here. That car now has come in, that Splenda machine, and they're going to take a look at those tires. They look very, very good. Of course, just turned a couple of laps here. Perhaps we'll talk to Britt later in the session, but it will be very interesting to watch this young driver who gets his first win in Milwaukee and now see how whatever they might have learned with that oval could translate, if at all, to this oval in Nashville.
This all started becoming familiar to me a day or so after the race, Davey, and I had texted Nick about it, then you and I looked it up before we went on the air today. That whole scenario is somewhat similar to several years ago, the last race at Pocono, when Takuma Sato caught a plenty of heat for aggressive driving, and the following week he won the race at Gateway.
Yeah, right. It's funny how that works.
Yeah, all these years later, a similar scenario, and you know, just said a great time ago at Jake's Park, because I was getting ready to start to recap a little bit what happened in Milwaukee and the fact that just a handful of sprinkles changed the whole outcome of that race.
Yeah, I mean, literally like 3 sprinkles, maybe. I mean, just barely any rain came down. Obviously, didn't really need a yellow, but they didn't know if it was going to get worse or better. But that really created a lot of excitement. It completely changed the outcome of that race. We've seen everybody pit but 3 cars, and that was Palou, that was McLaughlin, and that was Newgarden. And everybody else did pit, but those new tires proved to be the best thing, especially for Rasmussen. Flying to the lead of the race, and then obviously taking high risk, as we talked about. His driving style is a little bit different, a little bit risky. He came out a hero, but it could have been, the risk that he was taking once he was in the lead, lapping some guys and making some moves was very, very high, but he got away with it. The kid was very good.
Well, bottom line is this, as you suggested, he was not the only one that took new tires in that scenario, but nobody had anything for him among that group that did take tires.
Yeah, matter of fact, he was behind his teammate Alexander Rossi when that green came out. And then 10 laps later, I looked, and he passed Alexander right off the bat. And I thought, well, if he's that fast, where's Alexander? Because he's going to be fast as well, their teammates. And he was a half a lap ahead of Alexander Rossi in like the 10 laps. So this kid was on fire. He was super fast. He drove to the front of the field. He got the job done. If it wasn't for that one car, Palou and McLaughlin would have been first and second. Nothing would have changed.
Been a pretty impressive year for him on ovals, and we'll talk more about that. By the way, first-time winner since Christian Lundgaard in July of 23 at Toronto, and it was the first return to victory lane for ECR since May of 2021 on the Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course. Michael Young.
Just an update on that, and it's funny you talk about his run and how great Christian was on those last 25 laps. It was talked with Eric Cowden, who's the engineer on that car, after the race. And I said, congratulations, that's well-deserved, and what a great young man Christian Rasmussen is. And Eric said, I had to stop watching the telemetry because he commenced to crashing about 4 times a lap, and he said, I just had to stop watching and trust that he would keep control of the car. But that's how hungry and that's how aggressive he was out there, that he was not going to be denied that win.
Well, you said it best, Davey. He crashed several times toward the end of that race. Didn't hit anything.
He crashed 10 times without touching one thing, and he became the winner of that race. So, like I say, that's a hero or a zero. He came out the hero, but man, when he passed Rosenquist, coming off of turn 2, one of the most challenging areas to pass somebody, especially on the outside. We've seen Will Power try it, got pushed into the wall, took him out of the race. He didn't have an inch on each side between the wall and Rasmussen, and he slid down in there, by the way, and he had a 15-car length lead at that point. So he was taking some super high risks, but it paid off for him.
But it was a good night, good afternoon all in all for ECR with 2 cars in the top 5.
Great to see that. I was happy to see ECR team, and I obviously sent a note to Tony and Ed, and I was happy, really happy for them. I mean, they've worked hard at this. It was great to see them back in Victory Lane. I hope to see them in Victory Lane some more. They've rebranded that team, got a partner in there as an ownership partner. They've done a really good job, and so I expect to see them in Victory Lane more often than not.
David Malukas, P1, Dixon, Kirkwood, Palou, and Award the top 5. Rossi, Herta, DeFrancesco, Rosenquist, and Erickson the top 10. Jake Query.
It is always good to be followed in terms of what a champion does, and by that, let me explain. It was a week ago at Milwaukee during our Over the Wall segment where we paid tribute to all of those that go over the wall for the team of Alex Palou. Car number 10, of course, that DHL Honda from Chip Ganassi Racing. This team has worked so hard to again get Palou a championship. Yes, of course, the driving style of Alex Palou, who sits right now inside of his car. There is a fan on top of him, but it almost seems unnecessary because anybody within this team will tell you how cool a customer Alex Palou is nearly every time he straps into that cockpit, and that even in the most tense of moments, he seemingly is very calm, cool, and collected, and that perhaps is what has delivered him in this dominant season that we have seen. But it is a team effort, and Alex Palou sits inside of his car. The right side of his helmet on the top lists the names and tributes all of those that go over the wall, all of the teammates of Alex Palou. He is paying tribute to them with all of their names on the helmet, carrying them with him in this, the ultimate and final race of the season at the Nashville Superspeedway.
That's good stuff, Davey, and it is a team sport, most assuredly.
Yeah, oh, without a doubt. I mean, every person on the team makes a difference, and it's not just the driver. I mean, he's per se the quarterback, but it takes so many more. And that engineer, from every guy on that team to change the tires, fueling it. And by the way, don't forget all the behind-the-scene guys, the truck drivers and the people in the shop and the engineers. I mean, it just takes so many to make an IndyCar team successful. Not easy to do by any stretch of the imagination. Just getting everybody's travel right, you know, to get them all in the same hotel, the hotels right, and make sure their flights are right, things like that. So it goes very, very deep. And no matter what you're skilled in, I think that the IndyCar paddock has that job for you.
8 wins, 12 podiums, 13 top 5s, 14 top 10s. He's led 13 races. He's led 767 laps, an average start of 3rd, an average finish around 4th. The 4th NTT IndyCar Series championship, the first 3-peat champion since Dario did it, and the list goes on and on and on.
Yeah, and we were talking on the way in too. Just imagine, you know, there's a couple races that you know, Mid-Ohio, he had that race completely and had one slipped off track, and you know, that was another win that could have potentially been there. We talked about a few others, even Toronto, or maybe a bad pit call there. And you know, he was I tell you, he could be beating A.J. Foyt and Allen's record, in all honesty, if things just went a little bit different in a few of the races.
Connor Daly with a little different paint scheme on that car. All-American rejects, in addition to that AM/PM sponsorship.
Yeah, that's great to see that. They're going to be playing here tomorrow. I was excited to see those guys. Gave him a ride out in, he was fast seat in sports out in Laguna Seca. So good to see him. He's a huge IndyCar fan. Met his dad, the lead singer's dad, and it was fun. It's fun hanging out with those guys. Good to see him on a race car. 40
minutes remaining in this session, and all 27 cars have turned laps, and the numbers starting to mount. What do you make about the speeds? Let's see. We've got, 6 cars in the 200-plus
200 range. And how about Malukas? 201.585. Another great run by him. Thought he was going to be in the pole in Milwaukee, and then Palou came and kicked him off that, but still a front row start. So really good run from Lucas in that 4-car. Scott Dixon, we continue to talk. We got a little for some stats on Scott Dixon or I should say guys his age as well. He's in that 2nd spot. Then Kyle Kirkwood, who was super hot early on the street courses this year, won 3 events, then kind of cooled off. It was a challenge for the points. It looked like him and Palou were going to kind of run away, but just struggled through the middle part of the season. Then Palou, Pato Award, and Rossi are the ones that are all in that 200-mile-an-hour range.
So David Malukas, as we mentioned, 201.585 miles per hour. We talk about paint schemes, and all the eyes drawn to Felix Rosenquist and that Metallica paint scheme on that car this weekend.
I think we got to give Michael Young a little credit on that. He guessed that. He guessed that it was going to be Metallica, because I think he went to Shank and said, hey, it'd be cool if you put Metallica on there, and it kind of caught him off surprise. And Michael, he foreseen that happening, and then by golly, it's Metallica. So pretty cool to see that at the final race, them on the car. But they have had a lot of cool ones with Ozzy Osbourne, and I think that was one of the coolest ones since we lost Ozzy this year. Was able to give tribute to him on that car as well.
Grateful Dead out
Grateful
the West
Dead,
Coast.
yeah, that went really good. All the tie-dye crew shirts and stuff, that was fun.
I mean, what a year it's been for them, Davey. They're best by far. Both cars in the top 10 in points.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you look at they have not won, but they've been fast pretty consistently. They're right together in points. I think both drivers, they're there. They could win races. They're on top of it. Just, I think it's a year where it's Alex Plo's year, and when you have one guy hot like that, it makes it hard for all the other teams. But you know, they do have a relationship, alliance with Ganassi, which I think has worked out really, really well for them. They look forward to doing that again. I know that alliance continues on for next year. Their driver roster is the exact same as this year as well, so they're ready to reboot and get going for next year already.
I mean, think about this. Marcus Armstrong tied for 6th in the championship. He has 11 top 10s and a podium this season, 4 oval top 10s, including P3 at Iowa Speedway, and it's been an amazing season for him. And while it's been a very successful season, in true Marcus Armstrong fashion, it's drawn a lot of attention.
Yeah, you know, pretty wild. I mean, we look back of what he's been able to do. Obviously, second Indy 500 has been the highlight, but then he got DQ'd out of that for a small infraction. And then just, you know, there's been some errors that are out of his control. There's been some errors because of him. There's been just not the season that Ericsson has been wanting, and that's got to change pretty soon. He's got one more year on that contract. I do think that Andretti did announce that he will be back for next year. So didn't know with Hauger, you know, doing so well in Indy next, we didn't know if he's going to slide up in one of those Indy cars, but Ericsson is alive for next year.
I know you and Nick Yeoman talked about it, you know, during the Indy next session, and there's little doubt, Davey, that one of two things are going to happen. Either very little, if any, turnover will happen, or there's going to be a ton of it.
Well, and I think that all is a pendulum on willpower. I think that's the situation. And Del Coyne, I think he is the first say, he goes, I don't see a lot of change. I don't think there's going to be very much movement this year. But then they came out with a new car livery for next year yesterday morning downtown. But then it didn't. They didn't announce a driver, so a little bit surprised that driver, even though he said there wasn't a lot of movement, that he didn't.
He did say he would have 2 cars filled. He expected by Halloween.
Yeah,
he did say that.
He did. Yeah, they're coming. But I thought maybe Renus was going to be tied in, that they were going to announce it. But Renus said he wasn't quite ready to make that announcement.
He's waiting to see what else happens.
Yeah, I mean that's bottom line. Is I think that once that domino of willpower falls, I think everybody else is going to follow suit.
Well, there's speculation though that there may be a domino or two that's equal to the size of willpower and the attention that would bring. That Will may stay where he is, but there may be another driver make a move that could settle a lot of things.
That's right. And then then I heard another rumor there may be somebody retire after this event. I'm thinking hard who that might be, and I can't put a finger on that, so I don't know if it's a rumor or reality or just a bit of some gossip that goes on. So there's things going to be changing, but we know in the Meyer-Shank camp, nothing changes there. They're often going the way they are.
Yeah, we're not going to throw things against the wall, see what it sticks, because we know about the negative response those things get on social media. We don't want to provide.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just we're taking guesses like everybody else until it's set in stone. We're just throwing ideas out and guessing.
So tell us about this racetrack. What challenges that it presents? I mean, essentially, take us on a lap around this place.
So, it's a D-shaped 1.3-mile oval. It is all concrete, which we talked about before. Going into turn 1, fairly sharp entry into turn 1. Car loads up pretty darn good right through there. It is bumpy all the way around. I think that qualifying, that we're going to see them flat out. I think there's going to be downshifting into 5th, going into the corner, but still flat, and then going down about halfway down the back straightaway, they'll be going into 6th, and then going into turn 3, same thing. They're going to shift down a gear into 5th. They got a really challenging bump in turn 4 that they got to get through, and that upsets the car pretty good. So it's really important to have your dampers proper where it handles that bump, and then back up to 6th down this front straightaway. But more exciting than anything, It will be, I think, a side-by-side two-lane racetrack, number one. Number two, with the alternate tire, I think that's going to throw a lot of strategy in there. We'll see what the tire deg's going to be. We'll find out what mileage is going to be for these cars here after this session's over and kind of get a layout. I think it will be a three-stop strategy here. I think these tires, unlike Milwaukee, will last a full fuel stint, but maybe not the alternate. So there's a lot to be seen. But this track, I think it's great. I think it's hard. It's not easy. It's not an easy mile in the third to get around there just wide open like, Texas. It may be a little bit easier, even like the Kentuckys we used to go to, Miami, things like that. It's a challenging racetrack, and I think a lot of it's due to that concrete.
I'm watching Scott Dixon from the in-car view, watching his hands in particular. He goes around the outside of a car to turn number one right now, and you can see that as he is in preparation to the exit of turn number 3, you can almost see the grip in his hands tighten in anticipation of that bump. And then after he clears that bump and gets to what is essentially the front straight, there's almost a little relaxing of his hand.
Yeah,
watch his left hand start to relax.
That's
a little
right,
bit.
relax a little bit. But you're going to hang on to that wheel over that bump.
Right.
It definitely. And I know I got some calls after the Indy Next practice, and there's a few cars that they hit the bump. They said the Andretti cars go over the bump and they don't even move. They just go solid. Nick and I covered that. We've seen a few guys kind of go high over that bump, and the cars move and they slide up, and we did see that. Some of them move up like a foot, just it's going over, but it's sliding them up the racetrack, and that's going to happen here too. Some of these guys haven't figured out their damper program. Some of them won't. Fascinating to me how the technology has developed over the years with that steering wheel and all the different things that they have at their disposal. Yeah, it really is. I mean, they have everything on there, and by the way, that's just one map that we see. They have several maps that they could change on that steering wheel, but obviously the most important things for the driver is to see is your shift gear, your shift lights, or RPM, your mile per hour. Then you have some fuel ranges and some things like that. And the beauty of it is, from what I understand, and talking to team principals and whatnot, that the technology exists for. Essentially, you could have 27 different versions of that mapping up and down pit lane. It's all set up to driver's preference. That's right. I mean, these DAG guys, they get set up however you want. And so every driver's a little different. Every driver wants to see something a little different. Every driver, even the shift lights, you'll see they're different from wheel to wheel. Some people like them to come on both sides, and then when they meet in the middle, that's time to shift. Some go from left to right. Some go right to left. And so it's just what driver preference on that. Big news for Dale Coyne and his operation in the streets of downtown Nashville yesterday. Jake Query has more on that.
Yeah, and I guess it's fitting the last name's Coyne because we're talking about alt blockchain. And let's begin with that, Dale. Congratulations on what we now know is a solid sponsorship for next year that will also allow you to expand your headquarters a bit in Chicago. Take me through yesterday's announcement and just the overall optimism.
No, it was all good stuff. I mean, Todd's committed. He's been in this sport for a few years now, and I see the road forward, the future with us together, and his help certainly has enabled us to expand and be a better team than we are this year.
And you guys have had a good year, obviously. Let's begin with Rinus VeeKay. And I know that at this point, we're not ready to announce anything in terms of solidarity for your lineup for next year, but your overall impressions on working with Rinus VeeKay this season?
No, he's done a great job. He got us back on the podium, and he's got us back in the leaders circle. He's in the top half in the points in the field, so he's done a great job.
I mean this as no disrespect to years past, but do you feel almost more solid in terms of the footing of your race team going into this offseason than you have in years past?
Oh, for sure. To say we're going to announce our drivers in October is something new for us, so we're excited about that.
Would you be content if that driver lineup is in fact the same as what you're going with? Are you looking for or waiting for perhaps expansion from elsewhere, or are you simply trying to lock in who you have?
We want to lock in what we have, and we're always got our eyes open too, so you never know what's going to happen.
It's always fun to watch. Appreciate the time, and best of luck, obviously, in finishing strong and then seeing what happens towards next year.
Sounds good. Thank you.
That's Dale Coyne of Dale Coyne Racing, Mark.
Your voice has perhaps been one of the loudest, Davey, about the how badly needed additional funding would be by Dale Coyne in order for them to go to the next level. And you've marveled at the success that they've been able to have with his funding restrictions. And it sounds to me like a lot of those issues are now alleviated for one of the good guys in motorsports.
Yeah, no, Dale's been doing this a really long time, and you want to see that program you know, expand, get better. We know he could win races. That first win he had, I think, with Justin Wilson and stuff. And
pretty cool. This announcement comes on the heels of the 10-year anniversary of us losing.
Yeah, losing Justin. That's right. And Dale's such a good guy. I mean, we want to see good things happen to him. Like I say, he spent a lot of his own money. He's always dedicated to being here. He's had his struggles with speed, with cars, with drivers, a lot of things. But he's always been able to search out talent. Remember, Alex Plo drove there. I mean, I could go, Alex Bourdais has been there. I mean, he's had some great race drivers come out of there. Grosjean actually did his best running out of there. Looks like Grosjean wants to come back next year, too. We'll see if there's a spot for him. But with Todd Alt coming on board, I think Todd's been able to really kind of help and solidify, has a future there, sees where he could be integrated. He loves this sport as well. We talked about Cusick earlier at Indy Next, getting involved, being part of that program. And being responsible for a couple cars as well out in Indy Next. And that's no different than Todd wanting to do the same thing in IndyCar. So there's a great relationship there. I think it could be a long-term situation, and hopefully all that funding is where it's supposed to be. I know Todd's out there working very hard. Obviously, Dale always does. His job is to get the best drivers and engineers that he can.
Well, we talked a little bit about driver movement earlier and what we anticipate, either a lot or very, very little. You guys broached the subject of what the future holds for some drivers. I think conventional wisdom tells you that Dennis Hauger's going to move up. We understand why, because of the scholarship that comes along with it. But, you know, it wasn't that long ago, really, that only 1 year in Indy Next, known as Indy Lights at that time, made sense. And then when the new car was developed, it made sense to do 2 years. But now we're seeing that, especially in a year where there may not be much movement or many availabilities at the top rung of the ladder, that you see a Miles Rowe saying, you know what, maybe I'll give this a third shot.
Give it another shot, that's right. And I think a situation for Miles is he wants to be a champion. You know, he won a race this year. He's been, you know, he got that behind him. Now he wants to be a champion and maybe not jump too early in the IndyCars. And I think it's a situation where he just looked at all the opportunities there and just didn't see an open door. Just didn't see really any opportunities. And looking at the other drivers that maybe beat him or a little faster than him that maybe have a better opportunity.
Go, Jake Query.
You know, sometimes you come across people on pit road that you just immediately know it's going to be an honor to speak to. And that includes my next guest, who is here as a guest of AJ Foyt Racing and watching over the pit stall of Santino Ferrucci. And it's all part of Homes for Our Troops. Will Thomas was injured in combat, I believe, in Afghanistan in 2012 with the United States Army, correct?
Correct.
And you obviously, you have the Purple Heart. You were injured, and now take me through the program that has you here listening to the information from Santino Ferrucci and the fact when I said, what's your hometown? And you said, you mean what it's about to be? I love it. Take me through it.
So Homes for Our Troops, what they do is they build homes for combat and severely wounded veterans. We are about to get our home September 20th, September 20th of this month. I cannot wait. It's been a dream come true. I've been waiting for a very long time. We just moved from Houston to come here. We did that trip about 2 days ago. It was a long trip, but we finally got here.
How did you find out about this program, Will? And for those, because we were on radio, I mean, you lost your right leg in combat, and now obviously you're going to get that home that's going to help you just in terms of maneuverability and have that permanent residence. But how did you find out about the program of Homes for Our Troops?
So other buddies that had gotten injured as well. So they had gotten homes through Homes for Our Troops. And so what ended up happening is they were like, you know, you should reach out to this program, see if they can help you in a way. And sure enough, that's what I did. I ended up reaching out about 3 years ago. And we ended up finally getting invited to a conference about a year ago. And now the build's about to be completed.
I can see the relief and as well the joy on your face from this. How long a process has this been in waiting for this dream to become a reality?
Oh gosh, since I've been injured. So I would say since 2012, you know. I picked up and we moved to Houston, but Houston was never home. So I'm from the Nashville area. I was born and raised in the Nashville area, and I always wanted to get back home, and I wanted to find a way to get back home. So I was able to reach out to Homes for Our Troops, and they were able to bring me back here.
Santino Ferrucci's a driver that has an exciting driving style, and people often talk about the bravery that goes into those drivers. That bravery compels in comparison to what you went through. And also, in addition to that, just the overall pride that myself, all of us at IndyCar Radio, and the rest of the United States have in your contribution is greatly appreciated. It is well-deserved, and I hope you enjoy every moment in that new home.
Thank you so much.
Will Thomas from the United States Army, who will get his home in September, part of Homes for Our Troops, and as a result of that, a guest here in the pit stall for AJ Foyt Racing and Santino Ferrucci.
Yeah, great story, Jake. Thanks, and well said for sure. And congratulations to him and his family, and we wish them many, many happy memories in their new home. And I tell you, there are several IndyCar Series teams, Ray Hall, Letterman, Lanigan, one of them, that are supportive of our troops in so very many ways.
Yeah, there's a lot of teams out here behind the scenes, especially, that help the troops. And as you say, the Ray Hall, Letterman for sure, obviously that AJ Foyt Racing team. I think, Larry's going to make some announcements, but hopefully that'll be part of their program for next year other than just Indy 500.
Well, and if you ever wonder about the connection of open-wheel racing to the military, go to the Indianapolis 500 because you will see it in all of its glory.
It's Memorial Weekend, and you'll see it in all of its glory. You're exactly right.
David Malukas continues P1. Davey, speaking of A.J. Foyt and Larry Foyt Company, they have to be pretty happy with that 201.585.
Yeah, they absolutely do have to be happy with that. He's been running really good. How about this? Ferrucci's been struggling, as we know, the last few races. Matter of fact, I'd say the last 5, really just not going his way right now. He sits in that 13th spot, so better start than normal for him. He's usually kind of the bottom of the charts and kind of works his way back up. But meanwhile, Malukas, he's been on fire the last 3 or 4 races.
24 minutes remaining in this session. Malukas at a 201.585. Dixon at a 207.72. Kyle Kirkwood at 206.58. Alexander Rossi at 205.67. Award at 205.42. Palou at 204.97. Kiffin Simpson pedaling it a little on the quick side, 200.388. In the 199s, Colton Herta, Scott McLaughlin, Callum Eilert, Joseph Newgarden. In 198.703 for 12th place running Devlin D. Francesco. Also in the 198s, Ferrucci, Armstrong, Rosenquist, Erickson, and Christian Lundgaard. Will Power, 18th fastest at 197.213. In the 196 range, it's Foster and Rasmussen through 20th. Then Daly and Schwartzman, also Ray Hall. Stingray Robb at 195.940. Siegel at 195.143. Reedus VK at a 194.218. And Jacob Abel at a 193.839. I have to talk about Andretti Global and their prowess not only here, but also in Nashville as a whole with what they've been able to accomplish on the street course, which we ran on for a couple of years, and here on this oval.
Colton, back to him winning this race here last year. Obviously, he knows how to get it done here. He loves this track. But if you recall, anytime we go to street courses, Colton Herta is somebody to be contender with. And he had that race dominated one year and made a little mistake, got into the fence. But very fast and on this Nashville area. Colton did live in Nashville for a while as well. He's since moved back west. I think he's a Las Vegas resident right now. But Colton did. He spent some time here in Nashville as well.
They swept the weekend a year ago on the return to the oval. Kyle Kirkwood was the pole sitter. Colton Herta led 91 laps on the day. Winners here in the past: Tony Kanaan in 2004, Dario Franchitti in 05, and then Colton a year ago. All told, 5 podiums, 10 top 5 finishes, and they've led close to 500 laps in 7 appearances.
Yeah, and that's just in IndyCar. You look at Indy next, but they pretty much dominated the chart earlier on. So that Andretti group as a whole, pretty fast here.
What's kind of surprising that last year's win was his first oval win.
I was very surprised. I mean, you think about it, and it didn't come. It was kind of a situation, a little bit, somewhat like Milwaukee last week, where it wasn't like in contention the entire time, but when it came down to the end and the tire strategy that he played and made it to the front somewhat like Rasmussen did last week in Milwaukee. So pretty surprising that was his only oval win.
Well, no manufacturer's championship for our friends at Chevrolet. That's been clinched by Honda, but clearly they had a successful weekend. The bow tie did in Milwaukee.
Yeah, bow ties. Wow, they needed that throughout the year to try to catch up in that championship, as you said. They didn't win it this year, but they're going to come back swinging for next year, and it's going to start. It started last weekend with really good runs in Milwaukee. Obviously, they're going to want good runs here as well. Just look at the timing scoring. Malukas was on top with that Chevrolet, but Kirkwood now back to the Andretti that you just talked about, shoots the P1 with that Honda. Then Malukas is second quick. Third quick is Dixon with that Honda. Then Rossi jumps up to that 4th spot. Really good run for Rossi in this practice session with ECR, Pato Award with McLaren, and then we have with his Chevrolet as well, and then Palou, Simpson, Armstrong, and Herta round out that top 9, all with Hondas.
Well, we've already touched on some of the stories that we'll be following throughout the course of the weekend. Might have been a thing or two we haven't checked off the checklist yet. To help us do that and get you set for the weekend, we welcome our good friend Dave first.
Welcome to the 2025 NTT IndyCar Series season finale, the Borchetta Bourbon Music City Grand Prix presented by Will Scott. And in the final race of the season, well, there's no reason to leave anything on the table, including by those looking to win a race before the season closes out, and especially from those eye-popping performers in 2025. Colton Herta is the defending race winner in Nashville, but returns to the concrete oval with only a pair of podiums this year. With an eye on another Gibson guitar at the end of the day, he'd love an encore to wrap up the year. A.J. Foyt's duo of David Malukas and Santino Ferrucci have the speed and expertise. This weekend, they hope to prove they have the mettle in the Music City to give A.J. his first win in a dozen years. Connor Daly has proven to always be in the picture on ovals, and a solid result here would have given him the best points finish of his career. And speaking of points, add Christian Lundgaard to the mix. The Danish driver still has his sights set on third in the championship and is coming off his best finishes on ovals at Iowa and Milwaukee. And add either of the two Team Penske drivers not named Will Power. Joseph Newgarden has 3 top 10s in his last 3 oval races, and Scott McLaughlin is coming off his best finish of the season, both clamoring for a keepsake here in 2025. And also, don't forget about the race for the Rookie of the Year. Louis Foster just 8 points ahead of Robert Schwartzman, but Schwartzman currently holds the tiebreak. But ultimately, it's all about crowning the 2025 champion. Alex Palou's place is among the all-time greats in IndyCar Series history, and the celebration in Nashville's Victory Lane will be remembered for one of the most phenomenal season performances ever. It's music, motorsports, and memories of 2025, everyone wanting a final toast in this Borchetta Bourbon Music City Grand Prix. We'll have it all covered for you all weekend long here on IndyCar Radio.
Thank you, Dave. Appreciate it. And, Davey, timing is everything.
Yeah.
We had a bit of an incident out of turn number 4, Devlin D. Francesco.
Yeah, we hit that bump. I mean, you can clearly see hit that bump that we continue to talk about in turn 4. It bounced that car, the back of that car in the air. He got sideways, did a really good job, honestly, saving it from not turning around. Caught it a few times, but unfortunately left him slide up toward that wall, and he just barely scuffed it. I don't really foresee any damage being done to that car. I mean, it was just a slight rub against the wall.
And he'll get a hold as a result of bringing out that caution for a couple of minutes. And, Davey, I'm scrolling through social media, and I'm seeing folks report on what they're hearing on, in-car radio communications with drivers, and some of them are really struggling with that bump at 4.
Yeah, no, it's brutal. I mean, as we talked about, I just got a call from some of the Indy Next drivers that called me and just tried to stay on top of it. And they said they follow Andretti cars through there, and they go through there really nice. And a lot of the other cars they go through there, they jump like a foot in the air. I mean, it just pushes them right straight out, big handful. And we're seeing that same thing right now.
So is it going to be a combination of your springs and shocks and your ride height? Is that how you attack that?
Yeah, it's really dampers. Your damper has to be able to control you have to be able to make it go over that bump without knowing the bump's there, but you still have to have that damper do the job it's supposed to do at the rest of the racetrack. Not an easy thing. I remember Dover, a concrete track.
Yes.
And we obviously
not
ran.
Not fondly, but yes.
Yeah, and ran. It was very bumpy as well. We went there with I was driving for Gallus at the time, and we went there the whole day, Mark, and we just tested damper after damper after damper after damper, and trying to get it just a smooth ride. That was our biggest goal. And once we got that smooth ride, then we started looking for speed. It was one of the most unfun tests I probably had been to, because you kind of it was just kind of repetition of just trying all these different things, and it wasn't about speed at the time. But when we showed back up there, we qualified second. We had a great run. I mean, the car was right, and that's something here. Just getting over that bump is so key.
Our good friend from down under, Australian friend Kitch, was watching something on YouTube. He said it was last week, and he took a screenshot of a photo, and it's of me in a red, white, and blue fire suit.
Yeah, it looked good.
Greg Ray at Victory Lane.
Yeah, well,
I thought a long time ago.
Yeah, Tony Stewart was standing by. Young Tony Stewart was right behind you guys. Greg Ray, And that track, as you know, we had the big one, and we call the big one there down that back straightaway, and fortunately missed all that. Had decent runs there. Had some mechanical issues at one of them. I know a timing chain broke, but anyways, it was a very interesting track to say the least.
I will say that. I will say one thing about Dover: some outstanding seafood is on it.
That's right. They definitely can't go wrong with the seafood. It was. Hey, I'm glad we went there. It was something, and we proved that we could race on there. It was not easy, but we were very fast. I think we were sub 19 seconds or something around there. I can't remember the exact times, but it was very fast.
15 minutes remaining in this session. Kyle Kirkwood continues P1 at 201.667. David Malukas at a 201.585. Dixon, Ferrucci, Rossi, all in the 200-mile-an-hour range, along with Award, Pillow, Simpson, and Armstrong. Colton Herta completes the top 10 at 199.830. So looks like a couple of the Andretti Global cars are finding some speed early on in the practice session.
Yeah, how about that? I mean, we continue to watch. How about Frucci jumping up? We just talked about him. His teammate was P2. He was down in 13th, but you know, it seems like he was always a little bit behind. But right now, P4, he jumps up to that P4. Connor Daly. And that Juco's car, Juco's Hollinger car, up at P5 right now. Really good run for him. And yeah, it's right now. Some guys put some new tires on, trying to get them felt out, see what they could do. Struggling is VK. We just talked about that new paint scheme. We talked to Dale Coyne about trying to solidify what he has. He's fallen down to last on the chart. His teammate Abel, he was able to move up to that 22nd spot with Rahal, Robb, and Siegel in between them. That's another thing. Siegel, tough race, and really tough race in Milwaukee. As he said, he goes, man, I feel like an idiot. I shouldn't do that. He just went too low on the first lap, hit that curbing, tried to go throttle down, spun out in turn 4 on the very first lap of Milwaukee. A little gun shy probably here right now, find himself in that 26th spot.
With a little under 14 minutes remaining in the session, let's check in with Michael Young.
Yeah, and for the number 4, we have the alternate tires for the very first time. We'll see David Malukas head out on track. You hear the Chevrolet engine fired behind, and that is him leaving pit lane. So at least this is the first I've seen the alternate tires put on a car, at least in my portion of pit lane or what I've been observing. So let's keep an eye on David Malukas to see what he does the next couple of laps.
And again, Davey, this is not the usual, usually the way things proceed, but we did this a year ago and a couple of years ago at Worldwide Technology Raceway. Compound similar to a year ago, but there's no question that with the requirement of running all of these tires and the alternates on 2 separate occasions on race day, it's certainly the race strategist is going to be busy trying to sort all this out.
And we're going to find out right now, as Michael just told us, and thanks, Michael, for that info, because that's good to know. Sun's still in our eyes, so we can't really dictate which tires are on these cars, but knowing that that the alternate tire is on a car, we'll see performance-wise what it could do as Lundgaard jumps up to that 2nd spot. You know, that's another 4th in the championship, trying to beat Dixon and to get that top 3 in the championship. So we'll see if Malukas can pick up some time.
Devlin DiFrancesco has served his penalty, and he has now been released after he made that contact. We should make mention, Davey, that Christian Rasmussen, if he's going to go back-to-back, he's going to have some work to do in qualifying because both he and Callum Eilon have 9 position grid penalties for the unapproved engine.
Yeah, that's right. I was kind of looking at Rasmussen right now in that P20 spot, or P19, I'm sorry, right now. So, yeah, 9 positions puts him in the back of this grid right now if it's a stand the way it is right now. So, not good for him. He would have a long day. But remember, not only last week did he put those tires on to come to the front, he had a penalty there, too, for speeding the pits. Had to start in back of the line. So virtually he did start last at one point in that race on a restart and ends up winning it.
Turn 1, we've got an issue. Looking down to turn number 1, we've got a car that is spun low on the racetrack, gotten down into the grass. It doesn't look like that there was any contact. Right now, we're seeing Alex Pillow through the pit lane work his way on the backstretch, and we're waiting to get a replay, and we'll assess all of this and give you a recap on it after Jake Query talks to Bobby Rahal.
Bobby Rahal has been watching over. Graham Rahal just went back out as Bobby was watching the work they were doing on that car. Let's talk first just about the season in general for Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan Racing. With Graham Rahal, obviously, Devlin DiFrancesco, and Louis Foster. Your overall assessment of the season?
Well, I think for sure our pace on road courses, straight courses is stronger than even last year, and last year wasn't bad, especially on the road courses. I think just as of after, trying to remember what road course was, 2 races ago, we had as many top 6 qualifying positions as Roger.
Is that Portland, maybe?
Portland, yeah. So, Graham did a good race there, ended up 4th. So, I think the pace on road course 3 courses was not bad. We had some issues, some reliability issues and pit stop issues, but all in all, I'm generally pleased with road course 3 course. Ovals, we still have work to do for sure, but better than last year. So, hopefully we'll have a good race this weekend and a good way to end the year, and then look forward to next.
This particular oval in Nashville, Bobby, how similar, if at all, is it to just overall grip and maybe feel from what you had in Milwaukee and can move over, if at all?
Oh, I think this got more grip than Milwaukee. Being banked like it does, like it is, I should say, that always helps that. But, here there's that bump in between 3 and 4 that I think everybody has to work around. And now we got 2 different types of tires, which we didn't have in Milwaukee. We have red sidewall, black sidewall. So that makes things a little more interesting. But as I say, we had a guy in the front row at Indy. That's not too bad either. So, we led 70 laps at Indianapolis. So, not a bad performance there. But just need a little bit of luck, a little bit of not make mistakes. But we've got the pace, and that's the most important thing. So, just have to, finish the job like we did at Portland with Graham. It was a really good run for us, and did a great job.
And that was Takuma Sato, who joined you in Indianapolis, ran very strong, in particular at the outset of that race. Let's talk lastly about next year for Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan Racing. This year you had Graham Rahal, you had Devlin DeFrancesco, and Louis Foster. Of that trio, you anticipate how many returning next year?
Well, I think right now probably all of them. Certainly Louis, I should say, will be back with us. Graham, he's got another couple of years on his agreement, and Devlin's done, has had some decent races. So my expectations will probably be the same. Probably run a 4th car at Indy again. We'll see. Not sure who will drive that yet, but we'd certainly like to see Takuma back in it. That's for sure.
Always good to see you, Bobby. Appreciate the time.
Thank you.
That's Bobby Rahal. Mark?
Yeah, a little bit later on, some legends are going to get together for a conversation in the fan zone here outside of Turn 1. I believe I saw it. It's Bobby Rahal, Tony Kanaan, Ari Luyendyk, and Allinger Jr.
Jr., yeah. He pulled in yesterday, talked to him a little bit, but that's going to be great. I mean, what great driver.
Oh, my goodness.
Great, a great opportunity to do a little use some questions for the heroes.
Yeah, a few wins there, that's for sure. Not only in the Indianapolis 500, but in racing as a whole. Kyle Kirkwood continued T1. Do need to put a period on what brought out that brief caution. It was Alex below, and Davey, he spun exiting the pits.
Yeah, this pit lane, this pit out is the most difficult pit out that I've ever had to deal with before. You go down into it, and it's a really sharp corner as soon as you get into turn 1 on pit out. And then it opens really wide. It opens up wide, and then a really sharp corner again going down to get low to get into turn 2. And so what Alex did, he was just trying to make it like a racetrack, got a little bit low, and got, spun the car around, slid up, spun it out on pit lane. But you know what the scary thing is? It did slide up almost onto the racetrack, where bad things happen when you spin out on pit lane and you slide up in traffic on the racetrack sometimes. So very lucky for him. You don't see him make mistakes very often, but I have to say this pit lane is very, very challenging.
Michael Young, you've been cruising through the pit boxes that you've kept your eye on during this session, and you say a handful of drivers now are starting to employ those alternates with about 7 minutes remaining in the session.
Yeah, we saw Alexander Rossi go out. I just saw Joseph Newgarden go out on those alternate tires. I'm sitting in, or should say standing in, Alex Pallot's box. He has those alternates ready to go as soon as he's released from pit lane. But Marcus Armstrong, Louis Foster, they have the alternates on. Kyle Kirkwood's headed out. He's got the alternates on. So it's an interesting finish to this practice session, and I'm going to be curious. We'll talk to several of the drivers, or try to get as many as we can about these alternates and their thoughts on them at the end of this session.
Yeah, it's interesting to know, Davey, that, as we look, that 1.3 miles in length, a pretty good-sized racetrack, and Well, by and large, it seems like those that are out right now, we see Kiffin Simpson clear that start-finish line. We see Award clearing the start-finish line. It looks like pretty good separation right now, Davey, and they're all trying to give one another an opportunity to get some qualifying sims.
Yeah, and actually Dixon just coming in, I could see on the onboard camera that he has that red softer compound red sidewall tire on. His last lap was a 200.6 miles an hour. His fast lap was a 201.6. That was on the primary, so I'm not sure if the alternate is going to be faster or not. Now, I'm assuming that it's a softer alternate. I'm assuming that it's softer, that it's supposed to go a little faster, but right there, it wasn't able to do that for Dixon.
Rest of the day is going to look like this. We will do qualifying for Indy Next by Firestone coming up at 11:35 local time, 12:35 Eastern, and then let's see, we'll do INDYCAR qualifying after that, 1 o'clock local time, 2 p.m. Eastern. And then, Davey, the group's going to go out, try to lay down some rubber, grip this track up a little bit, and then we will have a final 1-hour practice session to cap off the day here in Nashville.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what that high line presents. I think, it's really hard to get the rubber laid down on this concrete to make it look black, because they've got a lot of laps around the bottom and it's still barely black. So I just feel it's going to really generate 2 good grooves, and then we'll see what happens. It's their final chance. These oval weekends, these 2 days, not a very big opportunity for these cars to be right. You have to get them right. How about Indy Next? They got 50 minutes, 5-0. They practice, they qualify, they line up for the race. Yeah. That's it. There's no race sim. There's nothing. So very difficult for those teams. And same here, they do get a final warm-up, which is very key, and it's good they do it the day before, just in case something goes wrong. They have time to fix the car or do whatever they need to for the race on Sunday.
Yeah, there's no question these teams were all very, very happy to get that final warm-up at Milwaukee last weekend.
Yeah, no, it's key. And I like seeing Indy Next have a little bit of a final warm-up as well. I think it just gets everybody a little bit closer in speeds and times. Not saying it makes it any better race-wise, but it gets everybody a little bit closer.
Michael Young.
Yeah, with Scott Dixon, it's great whenever I approach you, Scott, how your face lights up when I ask you to do an interview with me. Quickly, that session and the red tires, what's your thoughts on it? A lot like last year?
Yeah, I think so. Obviously it was a long time ago. But yeah, I think the car felt pretty good. We tested here. We tried to do a bit of a mix because we had a failure, so we didn't get to run a lot of long runs at the test, but kind of focused on that a little bit more. We were definitely way off on gears here, so that kind of killed us for the last few runs here for ultimate speed. But yeah, the reds felt, I thought, a lot grippier than last year, but we'll have to see.
A little bit on that bump exiting turn number 4. Some cars look planted, some look like they're having issues. What was it for you?
Pretty good for us. I think it's definitely, a bit of a factor in the race. I think wind direction is making 3 and 4 a little bit tougher today as well. But yeah, same for everybody, man.
Have a great session. We'll talk to you later this afternoon. Scott Dixon. 4
wins in Nashville, including 3 straight here on this oval. That he did that in 06, 07, and 08.
Yeah, not a bashful or not victory lane. He knows how to get there. Let's put it that way for sure. And it's a guy that we talk about many times, 3rd in that championship. He has a lot to fight for tomorrow. Love to get another win. He does have 1 win on the season. Like to get another one to cap off this year for sure.
Here's what's interesting. You look at the podium in 2022. It was Scott Dixon, Scott McLaughlin, and Alex Palou. When he won for the first time here in 06, it was Scott Dixon, the late Dan Weldon, and Vitor Mira. And then the following year, it was Scott, Dario Franchitti, and Danica Patrick. And then in 08, it was Scott Dixon, Dan Weldon, and Elio Castro.
Wow, how about that?
That's quite a span there of drivers.
Yeah,
sure.
eras of drivers.
Still
that's right.
Competing at a high level.
Still very high level. Still getting the job done. Like I say, still won a race this year. Still 3rd in points. Still getting it done.
Let's hear from Kyle Kirkwood.
Kirkwood, looked from the outside like that was a pretty good session, and that 27 machine felt pretty good for you, but what about from your standpoint?
Yeah, coming off of last year, our performance here was phenomenal, getting the pole, winning the race, sweeping the whole weekend, even with Indy Lights, right? So I don't think it was any secret that we were going to be, once again, pretty solid here, but happy to prove it true once again. So, yeah, this Sam's Club Honda is treating us well so far, and we look forward to seeing how this day shakes out, qualifying and the race tomorrow. How
big a difference do you notice in the compound, the softer compound tires versus primaries?
Just has a little bit more grip, I think. It's hard to say because the track evolves a lot here, so every time you put tires on, you think you just keep gaining grip. So I'm unsure at this moment. It feels very similar to last year, though.
Best of luck. Appreciate it.
Yep, thank you.
Kyle Kirkwood. Michael?
With David Malukas, you were the first to go out on the alternate tires. Thoughts on them from this year, last year?
Yeah, unfortunately, we wanted to go out early. We already had a lot of runs on the primaries, felt very comfortable, and we went out early, and we wanted to just get a clean run, right? Because everybody's going to go out in the end, and unfortunately, we got burned from that yellow. So we had to come in, do a rerun, picked up some marbling coming in on turn 4 for that yellow, and so honestly, it didn't work out for us. So a little bit unfortunate, kind of have a guessing game, but thankfully on the primary set, I don't think they varied too much, right? We had a really good read on the primary, so I know this number 4 Clarence Technologies car is going to be a rocket ship, so put it together and we'll be quick in qualifying.
The reason for that caution was Alex Palou spun coming off pit lane, and Davey Hamilton was mentioning how difficult this pit lane exit is. Do you find that to be the case?
100%. Pit in, pit out. It all feels very loose. And I mean, I did that high line on going so slow. I think it was on Foster because we were just leaving the pit box. And I did that high line, and there was so much marbling. I mean, the tires struggled, and I tried just driving around slow for about 6 laps to clean the marbles off, and it didn't work. So it's going to be interesting to see how the racing is going to play out here.
See you in qualifying. Best of luck.
Thank you.
That's David Malukas.
Once upon a time, you would say about a young driver like that, he doesn't know what he doesn't know, but listening to David Malukas now, Davey, he knows.
He knows. Yeah, no, he's ready. He's definitely ready. Matter of fact, Roger Penske's, his contract's through him, and there's a reason for it. He has a lot of faith in Malukas, and he's a guy that's getting the job done, goes out there and does what he's supposed to do week in, week out, and a lot of fun to have him in this series, to be honest with you.
Battle Award closes out the session at P1 at 202.357 miles per hour. Kirkwood, Lundgaard, Herta, Dixon, the top 5. Malukas, Siegel, Newgarden, Ferrucci, and Rossi, the top 10. McLaughlin, 11th. Power is 12th. Armstrong, 13th. And Louis Foster, 14th. Connor Daly is 15th. Alex Palou, Kiffin Simpson, Marcus Ericsson through 18th, all at 200 plus. Christian Rasmussen at 199, along with Rosenquist, 20th. 21st Ilott down to 198 to Neville DeFrancesco, 22nd. Robert Schwartzman, 23rd. Stingray Rob, 24th. Jacob Abel at 197, 619, 25th. His teammate Reedus VK at 196, 929. And Graham Rahal, 27th fastest at 196.732 miles per hour. Bit of a break about an hour from now. Join us at 11:35 local time, 12:35 Eastern, as we will set the field for tomorrow's Indy Next race by Firestone. Then IndyCar qualifying comes your way at 1 o'clock local time, 2 p.m. Eastern, and